is T. Levon Lawrence, and I'd like to welcome you to Part 3 of 7 in the Informational Brain Training video series, Mental Concentration versus Mental Focus. In Part 3, we talk about mental concentration itself. And friend, I ask your forgiveness in advance because I'm going to have to speak quite rapidly during this video. I've got a 10-minute time limit and a lot of information, so hold on tight, be ready to use that replay button, and here we go. Specifically, we're interested in dynamic mental concentration, and if you'll recall what we discussed in Part 2 of this series, we define dynamic mental concentration as shown here. To clarify our use of the term narrowing of attention, let me say that it doesn't necessarily mean bringing your attention to a single point while everything else in your perception fades into the background, something we call singular attention. Instead, what we mean by narrowing is the conscious act of simply controlling your attention, which casts attention itself into the role of a mental weight. The exertion required to control that weight necessitates your gathering your mental resources to make the effort. That is, you must concentrate your brain's resources, sort of like flexing a mental muscle. Concentration, therefore, is a flexing of your mental muscle. So, even when you consciously broaden your attention, doing so requires willful control if you want to prevent it from becoming scattered, disrupted, or lost to distraction. Now, that flexing, that effort and exertion to control attention, whether you're broadening or narrowing, is still a resolved gathering of mental resources. That gathering of resources is what we call narrowing. As an illustration, if you're a spotlight operator, you may adjust the beam of light to encompass a wider area, but you must still keep a hand on the mechanism to effectively direct the widened beam to sweep across your desired targets. Practice and mastery at attention control is the key to developing powerful skills at mental concentration. The same attention control skills necessary for mental concentration are merely applied more broadly across the spectrum of cognitive functions in order to build mental focus. And the natural result of dedicated attention control training for improved mental concentration leads inevitably to stronger willpower. Why? Because attention control is the equivalent of self-control. The better you become at the former, the better you are at the latter. Since attention control is the key, let's talk a bit more about attention itself as it relates to mental concentration. There are two types of attention to be familiar with. They are involuntary and voluntary attention. Involuntary attention is attention that is not consciously or willfully directed. It places one at the mercy of conditioned mental habit, environmental stimuli, and random situations. Involuntary attention is dominantly habitual in most people and tends to be stimuli-seeking and stimuli-determined. That means that if a thing is not interesting or entertaining, such a person has a hard time giving it proper attention. Uncontrolled and disobedient. Their attention does what it is conditioned to do, good or bad, because its owner is unfamiliar with wielding it on purpose. Involuntary attention is easily distracted, chaotic and erratic, constantly shifting from target to target, burdening and energy draining. It generally signals weak working memory, distracted thinking, and forgetfulness. Involuntary attention makes problem solving more difficult. It is at the root of impatience and mindless mistakes, and it makes its owner subject to slavish influence and self-serving manipulation by other people. Voluntary attention, on the other hand, is willfully and consciously self-directed. Voluntary attention is controlled and obedient to your conscious command. It is conducive to perceptive clarity and self-guidance. Voluntary attention is easily targeted and adjustable for practical use, while inviting personal patience and preventing unnecessary mistakes. It is poised and consistently productive, relaxing and energy conserving, serves as a powerful memory and creative tool, allows high-level problem solving, a fact that scientific studies have demonstrated over and over, and places you in rare mental company. Not many people are well skilled at conscious application of voluntary attention. Also, the conscious nature of voluntary attention allows you to notice more than people who are wrapped up in the grip of habitually involuntary attention. Again, I note that most human beings are dominated by habitually involuntary attention. Voluntary attention is not very common and requires attention control training to develop proficient skill levels. In your quest to acquire attention control skills necessary for effective mental concentration, you need to become familiar with the nature of attention itself, because attention is the main tool of mental concentration. There are 5 characteristics of attention that helps you practice for mastery over it. First, attention is multimodal. Second, attention is malleable or flexible. Third, attention is movable. Fourth, attention is maintainable. And fifth, attention is monitorable. First, attention is multimodal. There are generally 8 modes of attention that you can become extraordinarily skilled at using, 5 sensory modes and 3 operational modes. The 5 sensory modes are visual attention, related to your sense of sight, auditory attention, related to your sense of hearing, olfactory attention, related to your sense of smell, kinesthetic attention, related to your sense of touch, and gustatory attention, related to your sense of taste. Then there are 3 operational modes of attention, 3 additional methods of making practical use of attention. They are creative attention, combined with working memory. Creative attention involves pouring attention into the use of your imagination. This, in combination with your 5 sensory modes, allows you to literally recreate the sensory experience on the stage of your mind. For example, you can vividly imagine sights, sounds, smells, feelings, and tastes, using your attention to control the creative act of imagination. The second operational mode of attention is meta-attention. This is the challenging act of paying attention to attention itself, so that you can notice what is happening with your attention and make practical adjustments. This self-monitoring of the experience of attention can be very profound, even perception-altering, and opens the door for improved skill at the third operational mode, which is integrative attention, otherwise known as intuition. Intuition is the consciously self-monitored awareness of the psychological present moment, combining input from all 5 sensory modes and the other 2 operational modes of attention. In other words, integrative attention concerns itself with knowing the big picture of all attentional input flooding into and through your central nervous system. It is a deeply creative and insightful state of mind that requires a good deal of disciplined training to gain access combined with control. Most people stick with creative and meta-attention modes because, in truth, even the most ambitious goals in academics, career, and business don't require more than a simple mental concentration skill level. As I explained earlier, this video training lesson on mental concentration contains a lot of insightful information, so much so that I'm going to have to ask you to proceed to the next video that continues this topic of mental concentration itself. On the next video, I'll continue discussing the modalities of attention, the characteristics of attention, how attention control is used to build mental concentration, and how to tailor your brain training to get the best results faster. So, proceed now to the other half of Part 3 in the video series, Mental Concentration versus Mental Focus.